me tell you how it will be.
Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. You know that music. That means Taxman Bob Loeser. He is here in my studios, and we're always delighted to have him in our house. And Bob Loeser, you know what? I love having you on. We have a lot of fun talking about not only what's going on in the business front, but in the political front as well. We've been talking about baseball, though, before the segment began.
Yes, we have. We need to congratulate the Astros. They looked phenomenal in Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built.
By the way, that's a gorgeous new stadium, by the way. They really maintained their integrity, I thought.
They did. I
mean, I was...
it's not as loud a stadium as... I have been to the old Yankee Stadium, and that place, the noise was drowning when that place was full.
Yeah, I heard you could feel it. Right. I mean, it would the whole building would kind of shake. Yeah. So I know you're originally from New York, from upstate New York. Do you have Yankee sympathy?
Yeah, yes. I grew up in Buffalo, and we didn't have a baseball team.
Right.
So the closest was the Yankees until Toronto moved in. I wasn't going to root for the Toronto.
You still don't have a football team.
But they actually do play the Texans this year, and it may be for home turf. We'll see. So I root for the Yankees. And it was funny because growing up, I was born in 1956, so Mantle was playing then, but Mantle's days ended in about 1967, and teams from like 1964 to 1967, where I would have been 8 to 11 and understood the game more, Yankees just weren't the same. You were rooting for them, even though they lost 7-2. And we actually took, when I was in high school, a couple, I'm going to call them field trips with a bunch of friends from Buffalo, drove up to Toronto, and got seats like 10 rows behind home plate to see the Yankees play Toronto on an evening night. Toronto had they actually were playing in one of their football stadiums before they built the new closed-in stadium, which is gorgeous now. But it was a nice ride up to watch the Yankees. So, sympathetic enough, but not sympathetic enough to root for them last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be like if the Tigers were playing, I would have been rooting for Astros, you know. And, man, and Dallas is so easy to root for. He's phenomenal. Great pitcher.
He reminds me, if anybody remembers, in the 60s, the Baltimore Orioles, a guy by the name of Mike Cuellar.
Oh.
Cuellar he was a lefty. He used to paint the corners. He didn't throw the ball fast, but everything was a strike.
Yeah.
Right. And even Tom Glavine with Atlanta is another
Braves.
One. Now, is he as good as? Not yet. He hasn't proven himself.
Got potential.
But boy, oh boy,
good luck not giving him the Cy Young Award.
Right.
I mean, that was a Cy Young performance.
Particularly after Tuesday night's performance. If he doesn't get it, then something's crooked.
Yeah, and they talk about, being a Rembrandt. He clearly is, but it was almost even more sterile than that. He was almost like a surgeon.
Right.
And then when he finally got a groove going, forget about it.
What, 10 men in a row?
Boom. Boom. I mean, it was just so methodical. Anyway, like talking baseball, so I enjoyed going there with you. You're telling me, though, we're on a deadline now. We're on Crunch City.
One more time, October 15th, and it's funny how people not only procrastinate, but I actually think they believe that if you wait long enough, you can sweep it under the rug, and everybody, inclusive of Uncle Sam, forgets it.
Yeah.
Not true.
Doesn't quite work
So we've got about 30 of them to go for a week, and they're all range all over. Some of them owe 30,000. Some are. I got one that's getting back 60,000. Why he waited 6 months? Exactly.
Why do you want the government to have your money?
You could have paid me the interest. I mean, it just makes no sense. But that's the final deadline. Again, we have small deadlines as to the Texas franchise. If you haven't filed it, that's due November 15th. But most of my clients have filed their franchise.
You also have some interesting stories often about the nuances of what's happening out there in the tax front. What are you seeing? What are you keeping an eye on?
It's actually been pretty quiet lately. I mean, surprisingly. I mean, there's no legislation that expires at the end of the year right now. There's no. I mean, you hear all the murmurs going on politically as to what I would do if I was president and changing the tax law, but none of it's going to come to, in my opinion, fruition. I think the one aspect that continues to haunt people and they're paying higher taxes is Obamacare, because each year it adds a little bit of a step that if you don't have coverage, then there's a built-in additional tax for you to pay.
Yeah.
And so some clients this year have felt it. Some clients next year are definitely going to feel it.
Yes. And so that's something to watch as well. And you were telling me you got like 30-something clients that are still in holding pattern to get things wrapped up.
Right.
Is that typical?
Yeah,
Or is that
I
a
mean,
high number?
That's higher probably than usual. I mean, that probably 20 is a norm, and I give out a procrastination of the year award to the one that walks in last or picks up his return last. It's like the green jacket at Augusta.
Yes.
All right? It's sort of a putrid brown jacket that they get.
Yeah, it's just not quite as warm and fuzzy as as the green one.
No.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing as we get down to the end of year. And we're getting already here. We are in well into the last quarter.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. Now that we're done with September, a lot of our clients want to get into evaluating where they are today, September 30th this year compared to September 30th last year, and then evaluate what they need to do between now and December 31st to either lower their tax situation or evaluate it such that they're in a better position than they are as we stand today. Mm-hmm. And that may mean several things. We've talked about this in the past. That may mean giving themselves a bonus, setting up a pre-tax or post-tax 401k, might be looking at a new warehouse facility or office location before year end. Any and all of those may help reducing the tax burden. If you're what they call personal service organization, an attorney, a CPA, a dentist, doctor, etc., if you're taxed at a regular tax rate, not a S corporation that flows through to your personal tax return, the tax rates are 35% across the board. So whether you got $10,000 in income or $100,000 in income, it's 35% flat. Well, in a lot of instances, we want to evaluate it so that if we can reduce that by new warehouse, whatever, and take those deductions, each deduction is saving them 35%.
Right.
Or it's saving him 35% on one end, and let's say Dr. Smith takes a $20,000 bonus. Well, he's not paying 35% on his personal unless he's making $200,000 a year in salary. Right. So if we keep it under that and we can save in the difference in tax rates, 35 corporately, let's say it's 22% personally, we save him 13%. On the same $20,000, that's $2,600. And if you can do that, I'm not saying we can help doing it 4 times a year, but if business people can save $2,500 a year 4 times a year, and I'm instrumental in leading them in that direction, my fees are paid several times over. That's the way I look at it. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and that would be the smartest money he could possibly spend.
Correct.
No question about it if you take that kind of strategic approach. Hey, do you got a few minutes to stay for another segment?
I do.
We're going to have more Bob Loeser. We call him Taxman Bob around here. And you can learn more about him by just giving me an email at taxmanbob@pdq.net. We'll get his number after the break right here on The Price of Business.
There's one for you.